Well, I'm reporting from Washington, D.C. today. President Trump is completely rewriting the rules of global diplomacy. In a nearly 3-hour call with Vladimir Putin, that I was actually physically waiting outside the White House with all the reporters waiting for the readout. I mean, look at my face. I got so much sun today waiting for the readout. And now the establishment, the foreign policy experts are in absolute meltdown because Trump has accomplished more for peace in one phone call than the previous administration did in 4 years. The two leaders have agreed to a 30-day halt on attacks against Ukraine's energy infrastructure, a first step towards comprehensive ceasefire. As Charlie Kirk stated, many elements of peace deal with Ukraine have been agreed to, and the globalist war machine is panicking because peace isn't profitable. The Atlantic is already publishing hit pieces claiming Putin won, but the real winners are the innocent people who will not be caught in the crossfire. While President Trump works to end the painful Ukraine conflict with his historic peace negotiations, millions of Americans continue suffering from daily physical pain. Just as the Ukraine war seemed endless under the previous administration, your chronic pain may feel like a permanent condition, but there is hope. Top medical experts have unveiled Conolidine, a 100% drug-free solution that optimizes your body's natural painkillers. Unlike the dangerous pills pushed by Big Pharma, Conolidine provides full body relief without known side effects. Over 1 million Americans and hundreds of professional athletes have embraced this breakthrough that's legal worldwide and it's non-addictive. After 14 years of clinical research proving its safety and effectiveness, you can try it risk-free at trycono.com/NNN. It's linked down below. We thank our sponsors for making this show possible and to you for sharing this report. All right, here is my breaking news report. I filed just outside the White House. It was a sunny and beautiful day. All of us waiting in the sun for the action. We thought it was believed that Caroline Leavitt was going to step out and deliver a press gaggle. Instead, we got a press release, which was fine. But here's my report on that. I'm Gary Franchi, White House correspondent for the Next News Network, standing just outside the White House with some breaking news. President Trump has just concluded a significant phone call with the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, focused on ending the Ukraine war. Now, according to a White House press release issued just moments ago, both leaders have agreed this conflict must end with a lasting peace. In what appears to be a major diplomatic breakthrough, they have committed to begin immediate technical negotiations for an energy and infrastructure ceasefire, followed by talks on implementing a maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea. The ultimate goal, a full ceasefire and permanent peace. Now, these high-stakes negotiations will commence immediately in the Middle East, a deliberate choice of neutral ground for these talks. But there's more. The leaders also addressed the wider Middle East discussion as its potential region for cooperation to prevent future conflict. Now, on Iran, both presidents shared the view that Iran should never be allowed to threaten Israel's existence. And perhaps most significantly, Trump and Putin acknowledge the substantial benefits of improved U.S.-Russia relations, including potential economic deals and greater geopolitical stability once peace is achieved. Now, President Trump has consistently maintained that this conflict should never have started and should have been ended long ago with sincere and good faith peace efforts. Now, today's call suggests that his administration is taking concrete steps towards that objective. So this represents a potentially major shift in the ongoing Ukraine conflict. We'll continue to monitor developments as these negotiations begin. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi reporting from the White House. Yeah, reporting from the White House. I love saying that. Oh man, this is the greatest, man. Yeah, 6 months ago, if you told me I'd be reporting outside the White House, I would tell you you're nuts. Well, this is it, baby. We're bringing you the truth as it happens, faster than ever. Okay, here we have Steve Gruber. I love this guy. He's got some great commentary. He put this out 6 hours ago. He says that Russia has agreed to terms for a ceasefire in the war with Ukraine. Now, I'm not tooting my own horn here, okay? But I'm just gonna say this. He published this 6 hours ago. We published our report 7 hours. So we were like an hour ahead of everybody as the news broke, because we get the reports directly from the White House. But no, anyway, I'm not okay. I'm going to toot my own horn. Okay, fine. All right, here's Steve Gruber. Let's listen.
They'll have a complaint. I just walked out of the gym, and I just want to make sure I got this straight. Russia has agreed to terms for a ceasefire in the war with Ukraine in a deal put together by Donald Trump and his administration. Is that right? Donald Trump has delivered peace to Ukraine, potentially? Gee, I wonder what the Democrats will bitch about this now. They'll have a complaint. Somehow it's not right. They're putting, arms dealers out of work or some stupid shit. Democrats, you're insane. God bless America and Donald Trump.
They always say, if Donald Trump cured cancer, they complain about that too. He's making a good point. Democrats are going to find somehow to complain about this. He's putting arms dealers out of business, right? Oh, this guy's good. He's funny. Okay, we've got more here. Heritage Foundation publishing this 6 hours ago. What you're witnessing with Trump and the Ukraine-Russia war is what Cully Stimson describes as a unique push-pull tactic on Real America's Voice. Listen.
I think that's an important thing to point out, Terrence. The fact that they agreed in this call today to ceasefire on energy plants is good, because that tells you, if Putin holds true to his promise, and I wouldn't hold him to his promise because he hasn't held to his promises in the past before, that infrastructure and energy plants may be off limits, at least during this phase.
You made an interesting point. You wouldn't necessarily trust Putin to hold true to his promises. So what sort of fallback does the United States have, does Ukraine have, if you will, if in fact he does not? What sort of restriction could be put in place? What could we do?
So I've described on your program how I characterize President Trump's unique negotiating strategy. I've called it a push-pull. He push-pulls. Typically in a push-pull, you push one party and you pull the other party. What Trump does is he push and pulls each party. So he'll push Putin to accept this, and he'll pull back on certain other things. And so he sends mixed messages to both parties and puts them in a state of disequilibrium so that they feel like they have to come to the table and close a deal so that they're on better footing. And I think if you read The Art of the Deal and you've watched Trump in his first term and this term, he'll say something flattering about person A, and then he'll say something not so flattering about person A. And I think he's really brilliant at that. And so I think with Putin, he has described Putin as the person holding all the cards, and Zelensky is not holding all the cards, but yet he has sanctions over top of Russia, and he can enact further sanctions. And, of course, we know Russians their military has been degraded substantially as a result of this. The same holds true for Zelensky. So I think it's a push-pull, and Trump is trying to outwit and outmatch Putin here. I think that's
what I think. My takeaway: this is the art of the deal on the global stage, man. How freaking awesome is that? Destabilizing each side so that they have to come to the table. Here we have Bataya Ungar Sargon. It's possible to both disapprove of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and to acknowledge that the war won't end until Russia's legitimate security concerns are addressed. Acting like NATO membership is on the table for Ukraine only prolongs the bloodshed. It's time to end the war. This is her clip when she was on Piers Morgan. Let's listen in.
You say that if they were part of this war is going to end along the lines that it began along. It's going to end with a ratification of what the status quo was in 2022, which is that Crimea is part of Russia, Donetsk, Luhansk, the Donbass. At the time, it was an independent republic supported by Russia. It will be declared part of Russia, and Ukraine will be declared not part of NATO. And that is crucial because Ukraine could have also avoided this by not saying we are pursuing membership in NATO. You say that if they were part of NATO, then Putin wouldn't have invaded. Well, if they hadn't been threatening it, and if we hadn't been threatening to bring them into NATO, it also wouldn't have happened. And the reasons that Ukraine does not have membership in NATO, it's not just because of Russia, it's because it actually doesn't qualify. It is an unbelievably corrupt country. And that is not to, to denigrate an ally or what have you. It is simply to state the truth that 1 million young men ago, there was a status quo that we in the West were threatening. And so, yes, Putin goes out and makes speeches about the greater Soviet Union, but Dave is totally right. Ukraine is its buffer zone. And Russia is allowed to have legitimate security interests, even if they do things we don't approve of, like start a bloody war. They have legitimate security concerns, which we triggered.
I'm sorry. Are you guys literally getting like Russian Kremlin talking points? Because
Oh
I'm
my
listening to
God.
Kremlin talking points in Russian, and I'm hearing them translated into English right now. This is absolutely insane.
We're back
Wow.
to Russiagate. This is great. This is where the Democrats. This is all
I just cannot believe.
This war is going to end.
Oh, the counterpoint. Oh, you're just parroting Russian talking points. Oh, my goodness. Listen, that war began because NATO expansionism was a threat to Russia. They didn't want Ukraine joining Russia, and they said, hell no, and it just kicked off even more. And compounded with Biden's weakness after Afghanistan, the Afghanistan pullout. Putin saw the perfect opportunity to pounce, and he did. But hey, peace is on the table now. That phone call today was absolutely historic. Let's continue breaking it down. David Pine, President Trump had nearly a 3-hour-long call with Russian President Putin in which they agreed to an end to attacks on energy infrastructure for 30 days. If Ukraine agrees to it, Putin appears to have offered a full 30-day ceasefire in exchange for a suspension of all of Western military and intelligence aid to Ukraine during the ceasefire period, which means the ball is now in NATO's court whether to accept Russia's proposed ceasefire terms or not. Holy cow. In exchange for suspension of Western military and intelligence aid to Ukraine. Oh, that's going to make Zelensky very, very nervous. Trump and Putin, in a phone call, commit to immediate Middle East ceasefire talks as well, hint at major U.S.-Russia economic deal, post-Ukraine peace, and stress cooperation to counter Iran and improve relations. Maverick trader, Trump on Putin call is very good, productive call. Trump on Putin call, understanding that we will be working quickly to have a complete ceasefire. Also, many elements of a contract for peace were discussed. DeVroy Darkins, apparently, Franklin Foer, a staff writer for The Atlantic, has a crystal ball into the phone call between Trump and Putin. In his Atlantic article titled Putin Won, he claims that we are living in the age of Vladimir Putin. Unbelievable.
Merely the caps.
I just want to make sure
I'll get it back. Here we are. Okay. Wait. Yeah. No. Here it is.
The second Trump administration.
You wrote, in the global turn against democracy, he has played at times the role, we're talking about Vladimir Putin, the role of figurehead, impish provocateur, and field marshal. We are living in the age of Vladimir Putin. Trump's slavish devotion to the Russian leader, his willingness to help Putin achieve his maximalist goals, is merely the capstone of an era.
Just stepping back a little bit, even beyond the second Trump administration, going back to Brexit, going back to everything that's unfolded in the years since then, Putin has gotten so many of the things that he aspires to. Among them is that he wants to discredit democracy as a competing ideological rival to the system that he's building up. He wants there to be leaders within the West who seek to dismantle the post-war infrastructure of transatlanticism. All these things are transpiring, and that really, to me, is the key context for what's happening in this phone call, because he knows that he's sitting in a very, very strong position. He knows that he's already seen this evidence that the administration's willing to abandon Ukraine at a key moment by cutting off intelligence sharing, cutting off military aid, and he's winning. He's been able to take back all this territory in the Kursk region of Russia that the Ukrainians had conquered. And so he's sitting pretty. He can dictate terms right now.
You wrote.
Well, it's called negotiating. All right, buddy. All right. These are Putin's terms. Bring it back to Ukraine. Ukraine says, no, we don't agree to these terms, or counters the terms, right? That's the Atlantic for you, though. Here's more. We have something from Charlie Kirk here. President Trump concluding his 90-minute call. Many elements of the peace deal have been agreed to. Let's see. here.
In Ukraine, this is a social media post from Fox News stating that President Trump and Russian President Putin are currently speaking on the phone about ending the war in Ukraine after President Trump's statement that, quote, many elements of a deal to end the conflict have been agreed to. You are taking a live look right here on the left-hand side of your screen of the White House. On the right-hand side of your screen, that is a live look of the Kremlin from Russia right there, as both leaders, President Trump and Russian President Putin, are currently on the phone speaking about a potential ceasefire on Ukraine. I did want to bring you the very last.
Okay, so what's interesting about this post is that, Charlie Kirk posted this 9 hours ago. Okay, this is during the negotiations while I was standing outside the White House getting this sunburn. And we were all waiting anxiously to find out what would happen. And here's I posted this 9 hours ago as we were standing outside.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Gary Franchi. I am at the White House right now, and we're waiting for Caroline Leavitt to show up. Word is she's going to be doing a press gaggle, and apparently Vlad and Trump are still on the phone. They got a lot to talk about in Ukraine. I can only imagine what they're talking about, but let's just hope we can find a solution to this. We don't have more billions of dollars spent and laundered through Ukraine, and then save some lives. We got to end this war. We need to have peace, and of course, President Trump is projecting peace through strength, and that's something that we support here at the Next News Network. I'm on the ground. We're waiting, and it's a beautiful, beautiful day. You couldn't have asked for a better day at the White House. And just glad to be here. We'll see.
What's wild about that piece, and like I said, Charlie Kirk had posted that clip from Fox at the very same time that I was out there at the White House. This is a Fox News clip of them talking about where I was just at. It just blows my mind when I see these things happening. 7 hours ago, statement from Trump. My phone conversation with President Putin of Russia was very good and productive. We agreed to an immediate ceasefire on all energy and infrastructure with an understanding that we will be working quickly to have a complete ceasefire and ultimately an end to this very horrible war between Russia and Ukraine. This war would never have started if I were president. Many elements of a contract for peace were discussed, including the fact that thousands of soldiers are being killed, and both President Putin and Zelensky would like to see it end. That process is now in full force and effect, and hopefully, for the sake of humanity, get the job done. Okay, 8 hours ago, here's Caroline Leavitt, who I bumped into at the White House today. That was, maybe I can show you that clip. I played it in a previous report, but we can play it for you again. My reaction bumping into her and hearing President Trump in the Oval Office was like just mind-blowing. Anyway, here is her readout. President Trump and Putin spoke about the need for peace and a ceasefire in the Ukraine war. Both leaders agreed to the conflict needs to end with lasting peace. Here's Candy Kit just saying to Next News Network, thumbs up, love. Trump's call with Putin could lead to lasting peace. This sounds like a very productive meeting.
Peace. We are
Fox
just getting the readout from President Trump's phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. What I can tell you so far is what is at the top of the readout, saying that they spoke about the need for peace and a ceasefire in the Ukraine war. Both leaders agreed this conflict needs to end with a lasting peace. Alexandria Hoff is live at the White House. She's got the news from that phone call for us. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Sandra. Thank you so much. Yeah, we are still diving through this right now. It is not especially lengthy, given how lengthy this phone call was, at least an hour and a half long. But one part of this readout that sticks out to me here, it said that both sides of this war, the blood and treasure that both Ukraine and Russia have been spending in this war, would be better spent on the needs of their people. And that was the agreement that came out of this conversation today between President Trump and President Putin here. They both agreed here, according to the White House, that the movement to peace will begin with an energy and infrastructure ceasefire. Now, it's not clear if that is the exact terms or the exact wording that would have gone into the agreement that
Yeah, that was part of the discussions on the ground at the White House today. Energy and infrastructure, or energy infrastructure. People were concerned if it was
a misinterpretation of the Russian, or was it the Russian misinterpretation of the English? But either way, they're not going to be bombing energy infrastructure. That's what we know.
Ukrainian President Zelensky had signed off on too. They're clearly talking about the same thing here, as they say here, as well as technical negotiations on implementation of a maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea, full ceasefire and permanent peace. These negotiations will begin immediately in the Middle East. So they've broadened this conversation a bit as well. This sounds like a very productive meeting that happened via phone call today. Again, a lengthy one. We know that President Putin went into this asking with requests of the United States as well, not just requests of Ukraine. He had said last week that in theory he agreed to the terms that were laid out before him, the ones that President Zelensky signed on to. So it sounds like this was a positive meeting. I cannot gather from my first glance here if this means that both sides have officially signed on to this, Sandra. I don't know if you've had time to look at it a bit more while I've been speaking, but that's what we're looking at right now, that this sounds like this is something positive from all sides.
Yes, certainly positive from all sides. So Trump and Putin closing an agreement, ceasefire in effect. And of course, the establishment told us for years that directly negotiating with Putin was impossible, dangerous, and even treasonous. Yet here we are, with a ceasefire on the table after just one phone call between Trump and Putin. The deal includes pausing attacks on energy infrastructure, opening Black Sea talks, concrete steps towards ending a conflict that has cost countless lives and billions of taxpayer dollars. And now we're seeing how quickly peace can be achieved when America has a leader who prioritizes results over rhetoric. The start question for you in the comments: if peace was always this achievable, why did the previous administration seem determined to prolong the bloodshed and suffering in Ukraine instead of actually pursuing serious negotiations? I want to see your comments. And you can support our continued coverage of these historic diplomatic breakthroughs with a Next News hat, coffee mug, or shirt. Wear it, sip from it, and show the world you support real news from our merch store, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.